Hello and welcome to Celebrity Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. In the spotlight tonight are the winner of the reality show Love Island, Gill. She'll be answering questions on how to train your dragon. Rob Deering, a comedian who's appeared on Mock the Week, answering questions on Stranger Things. The actor and writer Ben Bailey-Smith, otherwise known as Doc Brown, his subject, Richard Pryor. And Katie Razzall, the Newsnight journalist, her specialist subject, the artist and photographer, Dora Maar. And tonight, our four famous folk have agreed to take to the hot seat to benefit their chosen charity. And they will have to answer 1.5 minutes of questions on their specialist subject and then 2 minutes on general knowledge. What they get if they win is a handsome trophy and, infinitely more important, the huge honour of being one of the nation's celebrity masterminds. So let us put them out of their misery and ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
Gill.
Your occupation?
Reality TV star.
Your chosen charity?
Show Racism the Red Card.
And your chosen subject?
How to Train Your Dragon.
The 2010 animated film and its 2 sequels about a young Viking boy called Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III. 90 seconds, here we go. The films are based on a series of novels by an author who was appointed as the UK's Children's Laureate in 2019. What's her name?
Cressida Cowell.
Yep, Hiccup, the son of a Viking tribal chief, initially describes the village where he lives as 12 days north of hopeless and a few degrees south of freezing to death. What's the name of the village?
Burke.
Yep. Which Scottish actor provides the voice of Hiccup's father, the Viking chief Stoic the Vast, in the films? The character is killed in the second film as he tries to protect Hiccup from his dragon, which is under the control of the Alpha Bewilderbeast.
Jared Butler.
Yep. In How to Train Your Dragon 2, what's the full name of Stoic the Vast's mortal enemy, who is expecting a shipment of dragons to be delivered by his trapper Eret to add to his dragon army? Stoic describes him as a madman without conscience or mercy.
Drago Bloodfist.
Yes, in How to Train Your Dragon The Hidden World, who describes Hiccup as the bravest, most stubborn, most determined knucklehead I know, in an effort to motivate him after Toothless and the Light Fury are captured by Grimmel?
Astrid.
Yep. In the second film, Hiccup demonstrates to the dragon trapper Eret a device which holds the saliva of the monstrous nightmare dragon at one end and from the other sprays a gas that comes from a dragon species known as the hideous what?
Zappleback.
Zippleback. What's the name of Hiccup's friend who was left behind after the attack on the headquarters of Grimmel the Grizzly? Grimmel says she is the most annoying creature ever to cross his path and lets her go, but then has her followed in order to find where Hiccup's base is.
Rough Nut.
Yeah. And you're out of time. Amber, no passes. You've scored 6 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Rob Deering.
Your occupation?
Comedian and broadcaster.
And your chosen charity?
Parkinson's UK.
And your chosen subject?
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, the award-winning television science fiction horror series set in the 80s. Here we go. Stranger Things is set primarily in which fictional town in Indiana?
Hawkins.
Yep, in the opening episode of the series, Will Byers goes missing while he's cycling home from a friend's house where he's taken part in a 10-hour session of a role-playing game. What game?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep, one of the main characters in the series is a young girl known as 11 who has special powers. In the first episode, she escapes from a secret laboratory and finds refuge in a diner where the owner feeds her before phoning the authorities. What's his name?
Benny Hammond.
Yep, Will's mother, Joyce, played by Winona Ryder, believes that her missing son is communicating through electrical pulses in her Christmas lights. She paints an alphabet on the wall in order to decipher his messages, and when she asks him where he is, what's his reply?
Right here.
Yep. While investigating Will's disappearance and the events at the lab, Joyce and the police chief, Jim Hopper, discover that 11 is the daughter of a woman who was involved in a CIA project. What's the name of that project?
MK Ultra.
Yep. Which actor joined the cast of Stranger Things in season 2 as Dr. Sam Owens, the new director of the laboratory?
Paul Reiser.
Yep. Early in season 2, Dustin discovers that a player using the name Mad Max has beaten his high score on which arcade game?
Dig Dug.
Yep. Mad Max turns out to be Max Mayfield, a new student at the school who has recently arrived in Indiana. From which other state?
California.
Yep. In the opening of the season 3 episode, The Sauna Test, 11 is staying over at Max's house. Max asks her to choose between 2 comic books to read. One is a Wonder Woman comic. What's the other?
Green Lantern.
Yep. When they pitched the idea for Stranger Things, the Duffer Brothers created a sizzle reel, a short teaser trailer for the show, and used an instrumental track by an American synth quartet as part of its soundtrack. What is the name of the band?
Survive.
Is correct. Rob, 10 questions, 10 correct answers. What can I say? 10 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please.
Good luck.
And your name is?
Ben Bailey-Smith,
Your occupation?
actor and writer.
Your chosen charity?
Salisbury World Refugee Centre.
And your chosen subject?
Richard Pryor.
Great actor, Richard Pryor. Here we go. Pryor joined the US Army in the late 1950s. After initial training in Missouri, he was transferred overseas. Which country was he sent to?
Germany.
Yeah. When Pryor moved to New York in 1963, he headed directly to a theatre in Harlem to ask for work. He was turned away, but would later return there as one of the opening acts for Billy Eckstine. Which theatre?
Café War.
The Apollo. The first feature film Pryor appeared in was The Busy Body, and the star of the film was a comedian whom Pryor had admired for many years. Which comedian?
Dick Gregory.
Sid Caesar. Pryor's first comedy album, entitled simply Richard Pryor, was released in 1968. It was recorded at a club in West Hollywood. What's the name of the club?
The Improv.
The Troubadour. Pryor contributed to the script of the 1974 film Blazing Saddles, but he missed out on an on-screen role which went to Cleveland Little. Around a year later, he did star in a comedy western with Fred Williamson, but Pryor regarded it as a poor film. What film?
Adios Amigos.
Yep. In December 1975, Pryor guest hosted a new NBC comedy show. Worried that Pryor might swear, the producers tried to add a short time delay to the program as it went out. Which television show was it?
NBC Saturday Night. Also known as Saturday Night Live.
Exactly. In 1978, Pryor played the title role in a Motown film production that was inspired by a classic children's story by L. Frank Baum and adapted from a Broadway hit musical. What's the title of the film?
The Wiz.
Correct. No passes. Ben, you got 4 points. And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Katie Razzall.
Your occupation?
Journalist.
Your chosen charity?
Just for Kids Law.
And your chosen subject?
Dora Maar.
Picasso's long-term muse, an accomplished surrealist artist in her own right. Here we go. Dora Maar is a professional name adopted by the artist in 1931 when she established a photography business in Paris. What was her original surname?
Markovich.
Yep. Maar was born in Paris in 1907, but at the age of 3, she moved with her parents to a country in South America and grew up speaking Spanish. Which country?
Argentina.
Yep. Maar studied painting, decorative arts and photography in Paris in the 1920s. In the early 30s, she became an assistant to a fashion photographer. What was his name?
Harry Ossip Mearson.
Yep. In the 30s, Maar produced a photo montage advert for hair oil that depicted a miniature ship gliding up a mane of thick, smooth, wavy hair. What was the name of the company that commissioned the work?
Petrol Hahn.
Yep. What was the address of the photographic studio Maar opened in early 1935? It's also the title of one of her photographs thought to have been taken in 36.
29 Rue d'Astorg.
Yep. During the 30s, Maar photographed street scenes in Barcelona, London and Paris. Most street photographers at the time used the lightweight Leica camera. What model did Maar use instead?
Rolleiflex.
Yes, Maar became Picasso's lover in the mid-30s and was the inspiration for his 1937 painting Weeping Woman, now in the Tate collection. It was bought straight from the studio by one of their mutual friends. What was his name?
Man Ray.
Penrose. Which work by Maar has become an icon of surrealism and has variously been interpreted as a depiction of a distorted mandrake root, a found object of vegetable origin, and a baby armadillo?
Portrait Dubu.
Yes, Maar taught Picasso photographic techniques, including one that combines photography and printmaking. What's the name of that technique?
Cliché vert.
Correct. No passes. You have 8 points.
Thanks.
Well, some high scoring there. Let's have a look at all of the scores. In fourth place with 4 points, Ben. Third place with 6 points, Amber. Second place with 8 points, Katie. First place with 10 points, Rob. So now it is the general knowledge round. And if there's a tie at the end of it, then the number of passes is taken into account and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they are tied on passes as well, there has to be a tie break. So let us ask Ben to come back to the chair, please. And, Ben, you used to be Doc Brown, but you're sort of not Doc Brown any longer, are you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll always be Doc Brown. It was a nickname before I set foot into show business.
Oh, right.
But it felt too complicated to start acting and then have another name and then another name. I think 3 names is one too many.
Most people settle for one, really, don't they? But look, the difference between stand-up and acting, where are you more exposed? I mean, one imagines that would be the stand-up.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, everything you do in stand-up, as long as you're working without writers like I did, it's all you. You're the producer, director, performer, and if it sucks, you really feel like people don't like you rather than the material. Whereas on a movie set, on a TV set, if people don't like it, I can always say, well, that wasn't my fault.
What do you reckon is the worst thing that's happened to you on a stage when you're alone?
I don't think we've got enough time to talk about how many disasters I've had. I had one where I died horribly at the Leicester Square Theatre and then couldn't find my way off the stage, couldn't find the hole in the curtain, so I was scrambling around. I ended up crawling underneath the curtain.
What, literally?
Yeah. That's possibly the lowest. But if you're truly funny, then there's always a way out of every scenario, especially if you acknowledge it, you know?
So almost as exposing as this programme.
Oh, this is hugely exposing.
Anyway, you've got your general knowledge now to prove what a genius you are. All right, here we go. 2 minutes of this starting now. VJ Day is commemorated on August the 15th to mark a significant surrender at the end of the Second World War. The letters VJ stand for victory over... Think of a country.
Oh.
Go on, any old country, starting with J.
Japan.
Yeah, that'll do it. What's the word for any of the individual segments that make up a bulb of garlic?
Clove.
Yeah. Which planet in our solar system is named after a Roman god of the sea? He's usually depicted holding a trident.
Neptune.
Yep. Which Canadian singer had a UK #1 album in 2020 entitled After Hours? It features the chart-topping single Blinding Lights.
The Weeknd.
Yes. In the television comedy series Dad's Army, Ian Lavender played the part of a character often referred to as Stupid Boy by Captain Mainwaring. What's the character's name?
Pike.
Yep. What term for writing or a drawing painted onto a surface in a public place, often with aerosol cans, comes from an Italian word for scratch?
Graffiti.
Yep. The national daily newspapers El País and El Mundo are published in which European country?
Italy.
Spain. Which colourless, odourless gas present in air has the chemical symbol O?
Oxygen.
Yep. In the 1975 World Heavyweight Boxing match known as the Thriller in Manila, Muhammad Ali beat which other fighter?
Joe Frazier.
Yep. Which American inventor established a research laboratory in Menlo Park, New Jersey in the 1870s? He became known as the Wizard of Menlo Park.
Edison?
Yep. Which edible fish has species called the sockeye, known for its red flesh, and the chinook, sometimes called the king?
Sorry, can I hear that again?
Which edible fish has species called the sockeye, known for its red flesh, and the chinook, sometimes called the king?
Snapper.
Salmon. The son of Sir Terence and Shirley Conran, born in 1959, became a renowned fashion and theatre costume designer. What's his first name?
Terence.
Jasper.
Jasper.
Well, you've done all right, Ben, because you now have 13 points.
Unlucky for some.
And next up, Amber again, please. Amber, you became terribly famous, Love Island and all that. It sounds silly a bit, but what's it done to you? I mean, how has it affected you?
It's completely changed my life.
Yeah?
I have moved from the north of England to London now, but everything's different. People recognise us in the street. I get to do things like this. It's just, yeah, it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
You've got an awful lot of followers, and millions of followers on Instagram, and you've not gone down quite the same route as some of your predecessors for worrying about young people, young women, being obsessed with their body image.
Yeah, we shouldn't really be retouching our images, and I think that there's power in people's uniqueness as well, so I like to put that across on my Instagram so that people don't feel like they have to get things done to their body or edit their photos or Photoshop their photos.
Do you think maybe you were a bit kind of naive before you went in?
100%. Like, I had no idea what I was letting myself in for. And I just went in and I kind of said to my family, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And I'm going to go straight back to Newcastle and just carry on. I didn't really think people would warm to us as much. So I wasn't expecting at all to stay the whole 2 months, win it, and then come out to millions of followers and everybody knowing who I was.
It's worked out all right for you, hasn't it? I mean,
Fantastic.
Yeah, not bad. Let's see how this works out for you now. Your general knowledge round, you already have 6 points on the board. Here we go. Which swimming stroke is generally the fastest and is normally used in freestyle events in competitions?
Butterfly.
The crawl. In America, PB and J is a type of sandwich filling that combines jam or jelly with what other spread?
Peanut butter.
Yeah. What name from Greek words that mean imitator of all is applied to a stage play, mainly for children, and traditionally performed at Christmas, like Dick Whittington, Cinderella, Jack and the Beanstalk?
Pass.
Which actor stars in the title role in the Creed series of films and plays the villain Killmonger in the 2018 film Black Panther?
Michael B. Jordan.
Yep, the merino is a breed of animal which was developed in Spain and is prized for its fine wool. What animal?
Sheep.
Yep. The village of Burnham Thorpe near the North Norfolk coast is famous as the birthplace of a British naval commander. What was his name?
Pass.
Which fictional television family owns a pet greyhound called Santa's Little Helper?
Simpsons.
Yep. Which Labour politician who died in 2018 served as Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, Minister for Women and Minister for the Olympics? She was created a life peer in 2015.
Pass.
What's the name of the board game invented in the 1940s by Anthony Pratt from Birmingham? The aim is to be the first player to solve a murder mystery.
Cluedo.
Yeah. Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany and Alexandra the Tsarina of Russia were among the 42 grandchildren of which British monarch?
The Queen.
Queen. Which one?
Mary.
Victoria. Which American rapper has had UK #1 albums entitled Beer Bongs and Bentleys in 2018 and Hollywood's Bleeding the following year?
Kendrick Lamar.
Post Malone. A very narrow type of balcony outside a window on an upper story of a building is named after a title character in a Shakespeare tragedy. Which character?
Pass.
What name is given to the larvae of various species of insects, such as the furniture beetle that leaves small holes in wood as they burrow out of it?
Termites.
Woodworm. I started, so I'll finish. What Hawaiian word can be translated as love, but is most commonly used to mean hello or goodbye?
Aloha.
Yes, aloha is absolutely right. You have 4 passes. A very narrow type of balcony is known as a Juliet. Tessa Jowl was that Labour politician. Nelson was the famous British naval commander. And you'll be cross with yourself about this, pantomime. However, you now have 12 points.
Thank you.
And now, Katie again, please. And Katie, your father, Lord Razzall, was a pretty powerful politician. You decided to become a journalist. Any connection between those two?
I mean, probably. But for me, I knew I didn't want to be a politician. I've watched it, I've seen... But as a result of his interest in politics, I definitely was interested in politics and the news from a young age. I remember reading the newspaper when I was sort of 8 and thinking it was slightly glamorous. Didn't even know what was going on. But I think, for me, it was seeing women, and it wasn't until I was at university, I saw the first women on the BBC as reporters.
Yeah.
And it made me think, oh, women can women do that? Oh,
like Kate
amazing.
Agee, for instance.
It was Kate Agee and Polly Toynbee. They were the only two, I think, that I remember at that time. And I thought, oh, women can do that, girls can do that, or maybe I could have a go.
A daily journalist like you, you're on the job all the time. I mean, you can never completely switch off. You go on holiday and you've got to read the papers, you've got to listen to them, you've got to listen to the headlines. And in fact, you got caught up in a big story on your honeymoon.
Yeah, sadly we did. We went on honeymoon and just a few days in, it was the tsunami of 2004. and we were in a beach hut. And the first thing I remember was people were shouting, "Get out, get out." And we looked out of the window and the sea was coming in. But we were really, really lucky because there was a spit of land that protected us from the major wave. But you're right. I mean, I have to say, I did report on it afterwards, and I was so glad I did. But my immediate reaction, having called, I worked at Channel 4 News at that time, and I did call in, and of course it was kind of Boxing Day morning. And the next day, we'd booked this vintage car, and the office called me and said, "Do you want to report on it?" And I looked at my husband, and he said, "Well, what are we going to do? We're not going to have a honeymoon, are we? Of course, this is what we've got to do." And they flew a cameraman in and started reporting. But yes, couldn't even get away from it on my honeymoon.
You've done all right since, haven't you?
Well, I've been lucky.
Let's see how lucky you are, or otherwise. In this, you have 8 points. The score to beat is 13. Let's see how you do with your general knowledge. Here we go. What name for a late morning meal is a blend of the words breakfast and lunch?
Brunch.
Yep. The organ in a woman's body in which a baby grows before it's born is commonly called the womb. What's the medical name for it?
Uterus.
Yep. Which American singer had UK hit singles in the 1980s entitled 1999, When Doves Cry and Sign of the Times?
Prince.
Yep. A contest which was an Olympic event from 1900 to 1920 involves 2 teams who pull at opposite ends of a rope to drag the other team over a certain distance. What's it called?
Tug of war.
Yep. The first line of the chorus of The White Cliffs of Dover, which was popularised by Vera Lynn in the Second World War, refers to what birds?
Bluebirds.
Yeah. What tall plant native to North and Central Africa is sometimes called the paper reed plant? It was used in ancient Egypt as a source of material on which to write and draw.
Papyrus.
Yep. A television sitcom first shown on the BBC in 2011 stars Brendan O'Carroll in drag as the matriarch of a large Irish family. What's the title of the sitcom?
Pass.
The name Ashanti applies to both an administrative region of a country in West Africa and most of the people who live there. Which country?
Nigeria.
Ghana. What term is used in geometry to describe a triangle with 3 sides of the same length and 3 internal angles of 60 degrees each?
Equilateral.
Yep. The American actor Michael Douglas married a Welsh actress in a ceremony in New York in 2000. What's her name?
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yep. The songs Memory and The Jellicle Ball feature in an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical first staged in 1981. Which one?
Cats.
Yep. The famous woodblock print, commonly known as the Great Wave, in the collection of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, was created by a Japanese artist around 1830. What was his name?
Hirokomo.
Hokusai. Which East Coast American state, one of the original 13 of the Union, is known as the Garden State?
Boston.
New Jersey. The first of a series of films that star Eddie Murphy as the maverick police detective Axel Foley was released in 1984. What's its title?
Oh, I can't remember. Lethal Weapon.
Beverly Hills Cop. Which element comes in various forms, including its white and red types, and has the chemical symbol P?
Lead.
Phosphorus. You had 1 pass, Katie. That television sitcom was Mrs. Brown's Boys, and you have scored now a total of 17 points.
Thank you.
And finally, Rob again, please.
I sit here, do I?
You may sit there, yes, you may sit there. It's being kept exclusively for your purpose. Last time we spoke, you were doing lots of very funny things with music.
Yes.
Is music intrinsically funny?
I don't know. I think I've shoehorned the funny into the music or the music into the funny because I'm a comedian, you know, by trade. But I've shoehorned music in because, you know, because I'm a musician. I used to be in a band, a heavy rock band. Heavy but very tidy. We were called OCDC.
So why did you want to be a comedian then?
Why? Because it's anything for a laugh. You know, I'm a born show-off. The mistake was that I thought I was going to grow out of it and get all serious, but that never happened.
And this business about running, that intrigues me. You're running a podcast. How can you make very entertaining podcasts about running?
It's pretty much the same game about doing what you do, but then doing it the way you do it. You know, me and Paul Tomkinson, also a comedian, also a keen runner, we were amusing ourselves. And we also realised that the longer you run, the more you kind of free associate. They get sillier and also more philosophical. And we like to stay out long enough that we start saying things that are either very stupid or very wise.
How can we tell the difference?
You're going to have to listen.
Now, you got 10 points. The score to beat is 17. Let us see if you can do it. Here we go. The custom of trick-or-treating and the tradition of dressing up as characters, such as witches and ghosts, take place on October the 31st. What is the name for this annual celebration?
Halloween.
Yep. Which chess piece is usually represented by a horse's head?
A knight.
Yep, the motto "Go hard or go home" appears on the official website of a British long-distance runner and Olympic gold medalist. What's his name?
Mo Farah.
Yep, the legendary Swiss hero William Tell is said to have been forced to shoot an arrow at a fruit placed on his son's head. What fruit?
Apple.
Yep. The English title of the first book of the Bible is a word for the origin or beginning of something. What word?
Genesis.
Yep. In which 1961 film did Audrey Hepburn perform the song Moon River? The music was specifically written to suit her vocal range by the composer Henry Mancini.
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yep, a prestigious annual art prize established in the 1980s by a group known as the Patrons of New Art and administered by Tate Galleries is named after an English romantic landscape painter born in 1775. Which painter?
Turner.
Yep. A paradiddle is one of the basic patterns used when you're playing what musical instrument?
Drum, snare drum.
Yep. Which ITV entertainment show features celebrities who perform anonymously in themed costumes and give weekly clues to their identity? The first series was won by the Girls Aloud star Nicola Roberts, who was in disguise as Queen Bee.
Singing a mask.
The Masked Singer. Which organ of the human body is enclosed within a membrane known as the pericardium?
Your heart.
Yep. A Los Angeles group fronted by Adam Levine collaborated with Christina Aguilera on the 2011 UK hit single Moves Like Jagger. What's the name of the group?
Maroon 5.
Yep. In which seaside town in Kent is the Royal St George's Golf Course? In 1894, it became the first venue outside Scotland to host the Open Championship.
Lytham.
Sandwich. In a test carried out at Versailles in 1783, which was witnessed by Louis XVI, a sheep, a duck and a rooster became the first passengers in what form of transport?
Hot air balloon.
Yeah. 0131 is the telephone area code for which Scottish city?
Edinburgh.
Yep. The common name of a reddish-brown invertebrate creature with a long, segmented body suggests that it has 100 legs, although it can actually have as few as 30. What creature?
Centipede.
Correct, and you have now 23 points.
Thank you.
That was impressive.
Well, no doubt about the winner there. In fourth place with 12 points, Amber. In third place with 13 points, Ben. In second place with 17 points, Katie. In first place with 23 points, Rob, which means that Rob gets to take home the trophy and the title. He is a Celebrity Mastermind winner. Tell me this, Rob, what difference does it make to your life to be a Mastermind winner?
Well, it's really fun for me. We were talking earlier on, you've got to use your skills in the job that you do, and I would be sitting around processing trivia. So this is a really nice
So
place.
basically, you live for Mastermind. Would that be fair to summarise it?
Wholly accurate, that's
In
it.
that case, many congratulations.
Thank you.
You don't have to be a celebrity to take part in the regular Mastermind programme. If you would like to appear in the next series on BBC Two, you can apply online at bbc.co.uk/Mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. Either way, do join us again next time for more Masterminds, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.
I've certainly always loved facts and trivia, particularly the pointless stuff. But it's big in my family. It's a Deering trait. So the trivia love of the Deerings continues.